Hello people, it is I, a no-name BT, here with another YouTube video. Okay, so one thing you are going to notice is a little bit different than usual. We are going to be doing basically a highlight of the most recently released set, Phoenix of the Roaring Flame, which will be released on uh, August 11th, which, if I am correct, should be the day that this video comes out. Yay! So basically, Phoenix of the Roaring Flame is, as per said, a set based around, no, not really, introducing a new maximum monster with is Blaze Bolt, Chemistorm, Blaze Phoenix. Yay, I skipped a lot of the name, that's a huge name, damn. Though there are many cards in this set, and I decided I want to point out some of the cards that might make more of an impact on Rush Duel and which card series really affected. There were a lot of new series, a lot of general one-of cards in this set, but I really wanted to slim it down to talk about the cards and the decks that probably have the most the highest chance in affecting the current Rush Duel metagame. Now, of course, the top part is the selected group of cards, the two decks I want to talk about, and everything else on the bottom are generic one-ofs, which are also going to be very important to talk about. So to just start us off, I really want to bring this deck, because this is possibly the best deck to come out of this set, which is not very much, I'm not putting any other deck down. Like, a lot of the cards in this set are really powerful, but this deck has so much potential, including any future support it may get, including all the old support cards for Reptiles. It is Secret Investigators. Secret Investigator is a deck of light reptiles, all with different effects of basically getting a lot of extenders and summoning out high-level reptiles for basically not much of a cost. So I'm just going to quickly show them. We have Secret Investigator, Mistake. During the main phase, this card's normal special summon Excavate 3. Add 1 Excavated level 3 or higher reptile monster. Place the remaining cards on the top of the deck in any order. So immediately you can tell this is an amazing card. It's just summon it and then you can get a free reptile off your deck of your choice. It is insane. Arguably, I can't really say, but this so far is possibly the strongest combo extender we've seen. You know, we had something like Roman Pick, which, you know, Excavate 3, pay 500, but you have to have life points. And the Chameleon level 3, which I already forgot, basically has heavy restrictions, and you have to mill a vanilla. You can only retrieve a vanilla, and then you're locked into only reptiles attack in that turn. This card has none of those restrictions. It is just pure advantage. It's insane, and the rest of the deck is just as much. After that, we have Secret Investigator Miscast, where you have no other monsters in your field, pay 300, send the top 3 cards of your deck to the grave, and the reptiles among them, add 1 light attribute reptile from your grave to your hand. This is an amazing card for recovery. It is a little bit more restrictive than all the other cards in this archetype, or sorry, this card series, but this just shows that this deck can just easily recover from anything. You summon Miscast, get back Mistake, use Mistake, add another card, you already possibly gone like +2. Then we have Secret Investigator Mismatch. When your opponent has a level 7 or higher monster on the field, send 1 level 3 or lower reptile from your hand to the grave. Summon a level 7 reptile from your graveyard to your field, face up attack position. A monster reborn in archetype, and we're about to see very soon how good this effect is and how important it is that this card summons another monster and keeps itself on field, because most other cards that float into the boss monsters tribute themselves or send themselves away and then activate the effect. It is very important that this card stays on the field, and we'll see in a second. This is arguably, in terms of monsters, this is the weaker one, though it is still pretty good. It's not as powerful as the rest of them in terms of combo, but it does get over big defense bodies, which is Secret Investigator Mislead. If you have another face-up reptile on your field, pay 300. Change 1 face-down monster on the either side of the field to face-up attack position, then this card loses 1300 attack to the end of the turn. It has its purpose, and it's still a good card. You'll definitely still play it purely for the attribute and the typing combo, plus the level, but this is still not that bad. Now, these are the reasons why this deck is really going to set off, besides the incredible card engine. Elite Secret Investigator Misery. Shuffle 2 other face-up reptiles from your field and 1 card from your hand into the deck. This card gains 300, then summon up to 2 level 7 or higher reptiles from your hand or graveyard. This is an insane effect. That might seem like a very hefty cost for losing out on 3 cards, though when you really think about it, all your other cards are purely extenders, so you really just don't go minus on this, especially if you would use something like Mismatch. You summon out Misery, you summon out 2 high-level reptiles, and if you've seen past reptile decks, they're pretty good. But the main reason that this card is as good as it is, because of this new generic card, which is Snake Princess of Purity. One of the most hyped cards I've seen in this set, and a lot of people are very excited for this card. There's a lot of cards people are excited for, but in terms of new boss monsters, Snake Princess of Purity is insane. Send the top card of your deck to the grave, 1 face-up monster on the field, lose attack equal number of face-up light monsters in the field, times 600, and then you have 3 face-up monsters on your field, draw a card. It gives you card advantage, and it reduces a monster's attack, allowing you to get over almost any body very easily. And you combo this with the fact that Elite Snake Investigator or Secret Investigator Misery can summon potentially 2 of these. That means you get 2 additional draws, 2 huge bodies. That is an insane amount of card advantage in this deck. Now, I will admit, the back row, there isn't really much of any for this deck, and the reptile support is very interesting, but you can still play this with generic back row, and you can play this with the other reptile monsters, though this deck is purely just card engine. It goes off so hard. It gets a bunch of materials. I don't know what to say. This is a very weird thing for Rush. This is arguably one of the most aggressive decks I've seen in this concept. Now finally for the last of the cards, I kind of just included this because I wanted to. Secret File 33, Noble Death of Resentment. When your opponent monster declares the deck, shuffle 3 level 3 or higher reptiles from your graven deck. The attacking monster will leave 3,000 attack on the turn. Not bad. It is a pretty good trap. You're not running 3 of it. I've never seen someone run 3 of it and be happy with it. But yeah, I definitely think that elite secret investigators are probably, or secret investigators are going to be the most likely deck from the set to become competitively viable. After that, we do have the Blaze Bolt cards. I didn't include all of them because they're not all good. The Chemist Pets, they're okay. I believe Nyako is a decent card, but it's not something I want to highlight in this. So of course we have the new Maximum Monster, which is a card theme based around Fire, Thunder, Pyro, and Aqua monsters. And it works pretty well. So the reason why I put this afterwards is, so first of all, this is a very niche typing. We don't have that many Fire Aquas, we don't have that many Fire Thunders that are generic. And all the Pyro monsters are primarily supporting Pyro, so this is a very awkward theme to support, though it is very good because it has 2 good extenders. So let me just say, base it off, you can use L and R's effect outside of maximum mode, and even in maximum mode, they gain additional effects which are just as powerful. So the LPs shuffle a Fire Aqua, or sorry, a Fire Thunder from graven deck, destroy 1 level 9 or lower monster in your opponent's field. That's its base effect. Then, if it's in maximum mode, destroy another monster. This card on its own can be extremely aggressive, and affecting level 9 or lower monsters gives it a lot of clearing potential against very big bodies, excluding cards like 5-Head Dragon or Maximum Monsters. Then you have the R piece, which shuffle 1 Fire Aqua to grave in the deck, destroy a spawn trap card in the field, then in maximum mode, destroy another. The amount of board clearing L and R have together outside of maximum mode provides you with so much advantage, and your opponents are not going to like it. The maximum recycles its own materials. It can recycle itself, it can recycle extenders. Very good. The middle piece is something to be not too excited about. Send, while in maximum mode, already pretty bad, send 1 fire attribute or pyro monster in your hand to the grave, inflict 1,000 to your opponent. Also, this card can't be destroyed by trap effects this turn, and it inflicts piercing damage. So the reason that this is somewhat important, you discard the Thunder or Aqua monster from your hand to the grave in order to get a material to activate the effects of your LNR. It's not that great. Okay, so a main purpose of, I'll get to that part in a second. Let's talk about the rest of them. So the extenders. We have Bolt, the Conduit Spirit. Send one level 4 lower monster in your hand to the grave. Add one level 5 or 10 Pyro or Aqua monster from the grave to the hand. Then you can add one Chemicalized Structure Force. And then we have Melt the Aqueous Spirit. Send one level 4 lower monster from your hand to the grave. Add one level 7 or level 10 Pyro or Thunder monster to the grave to hand. Then add one Chemicalized Structure Force. These two are extremely powerful cards. They are some of the, I don't want to say some of the strongest maximum support cards, but definitely these are not something to just push to the side. These cards easily set up maximum. You can consistently get it out. I believe if you've seen my video from this Wednesday about the deck, you can see how much this deck just burns through cards and easily gets them back. They're very powerful, and adding back Chemicalized Structure Force, use it as discard fodder or anything, is also an extremely important card of the strategy, being Chemicalized Structure Force. Equip this one face-up Aqua, Pyro, or Thunder on the field. The equipped monster gains attack equal to a number of different types on the field, and the equipped monster is maximum monster. It can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. That effect protection counts for while it's in or outside of maximum mode, so any maximum monster basically gets card effect protection. This is an incredibly good card and does get some of the downside of a low attack boss monster on the field. And then, just something to very much point out, the spell card Vocalized Compound. Face a fire monster in your field, shuffle one Aqua, Pyro, or Thunder to the Graven deck, draw a card, you have a maximum monster, maximum mode, or an equipped spell in your field, draw an additional card. So what I was saying earlier was there is a very much big issue with this deck is that it can't really fight off monsters in maximum mode too effectively without some additional help or multiple copies of Chemicalized Structure Force, as it only affects back row very well, or it affects level 9 or lower monsters, which is the main issue currently with it. And that says a lot, especially since we're in a format where Abyssal Maximum is currently still standing at a close tier 1 or so, standing against Harpy and Wonder Fusion. So that's going to be something to consider if you want to pick up this deck for any competitive purposes, but just know that it is also an extremely consistent deck in terms of maximum, which is amazing, and it has so much value and potential in using monsters outside of maximum mode. Okay, so that's basically the two main card series which I wanted to talk about in this set. I am going to skip the Joint Tech. Joint Tech cards, they were very good. I've seen what they can do. They seem really great, but a little bit sacky. But we are going to talk about a singular Joint Tech card. Now we're talking about some of the generic cards and some of the one-ofs that were added. Steel Soldier Kiel Avery. This is a huge card, and it is the, I believe, only coin flip card we have on this listing. Maybe. So this was the most recently added coin toss card. So it's a level 3 Earth machine with the effect toss a coin. If it's head, all face-up monsters in your field gain 500. If it's tails, one face-up monster in your opponent's field loses 800. This card is a menace, and believe me, I've seen a lot of people play this. When you use it with Slot Machine, you can easily get it back from your grave to your hand and use the effect again, which means you can repeatedly boost your monsters or repeatedly lower the monsters your opponent controls. It is such a good stat boosting card, very generic, and either way of the coin flip, you don't lose and you get your end result. If you need a few hundred attack to get over a body, it removes that attack or gives you that attack. It's a win-win either way, and this is possibly going to be very important in the engine because we used to play Goddess of the Weird as the coin toss tribute engine, which was basically just make it a big body or draw a card. Drawing card wasn't very consistent, but this card gives you a way to affect your opponent's monsters more in the turn, and it is definitely something to keep an eye out for, especially if you see someone playing coin toss. They're not going to be playing coin toss, they're going to be playing Slot Machine and this. After that, we do have Abyssal Olivia Knight. This isn't really the top pick for me in this set, but it is still something that you have to consider when playing against Abyssal Maximum. Continuous effect, this card gains attack equal to the number of level 10 or higher sea servants in the grave times 500. If you have 3 or more level 10 or higher sea servants in the grave, this card can't be destroyed by card effects on your opponent's turn. The thing to know about this is if you out the Abyssal Maximum, your opponent can freely summon out this card and it can easily swing in for a large sum of damage for game, and then while it's on your opponent's turn, they're going to struggle to out this unless they have something that can set your monster face down and change the defense position, or destroy by, they can't destroy by card effect, as I just said. They can't physically really remove this without an extremely large body or a card that just sets it, because they can't destroy by card effect. It's not going to be the main card. You're not going to see this in every Abyssal deck, though. This is a high contender for playing it in the strategy as another option, because we didn't really have any non-maximum monsters that were high level that you really played often. Okay, that might be a lie. You would probably play Spear, but it depends on your deck build. This is a very interesting one. You can tell I got a lot of Overrush rares in this. All-Seeing Avery. During your main phase of normal special summon, to look at one face down monster your opponent's field, and if it's a monster card with 15 or more defense, destroy it. This isn't going to be good right now, I'm going to say. In a format where we have maximums, harpies, and I already forgot what I was saying for the format. Basically, when we're playing a format with heavy or very low defense monsters, this card isn't going to be very great. You might see a sided in Dark Lurker here and there, but this card isn't going to be immediately good. Though later down the line, once we get a format where there's a lot of high defense monsters, this is definitely something you're going to have to be careful in the sideboarding. Because once they side this card in, you will simply lose all of your high defense monsters. So if you trippy set, your opponent can just normal summon this, flip it up, and if it's a high defense monster, it gets popped. So this is just something to keep on the radar for now for upcoming formats. It's not going to be immediately good, but this card is devastatingly powerful in the right situation. And that's enough to make this card a big concern for me to bring up. After that, we have the Strange Specter of Celestial Stars, or Strats. Starts? Yeah, you know what? I can't tell. Listen, I forgot majority of this card because I saw an eggplant image earlier, so I'm very happy that this has an eggplant for some reason. During the turn, there's a normal summon a zombie from the grave with 1200 attack, 0 defense. In face-up defense position, then you summon Strange Specter of the Celestial Severance. By this effect, shuffle 2 cards of your opponent's grave into the deck. So I'm going to tell you, Severance and Starts are the only targets for this card. There are no other zombies. So the reason I bring this up is because I do see a lot of people use Severance as an additional way to play another playset of Legend Magician. It's not amazing, it's not a great card, but you know, this card does give it a value outside of that being an extender for tribute fodder, or a way to destroy your opponent's grave or get an extra card into the grave. It's not something that's going to be very huge in majority of strategies, but this is something to consider if you don't want to play Legend Magician in your deck, or if you're playing zombies. You got an extremely powerful card right now. Rising Light of Angel Esser. This ain't a good card. This is a very situational card. This is definitely... So I want to bring this card up because it's more or less fascinating, and there is technically a situation where this card can be played going second. During the turn, you have non-special summon monsters, send top 2 cards of your deck to the grave. Then, if you activate this effect during the first turn of the second player's turn, you can special summon 1 monster from either grave to your field face up. This is an incredibly difficult card to get off, and there's literally only 1 turn in the entire game you can activate this, but you can only activate it if you're going second and if you draw it. So the reason I'm bringing this up is it's once again a sideboard option for going second, which if you know your opponent's going to be playing like a heavy combo deck, they could possibly send some good cards. Like, hypothetically speaking, if your opponent is playing light reptiles, more likely they sent a Misery or a Purity to the grave, and if it happens to be a mirror match, you can summon out the Rising Light of Esser, bring back one of their high-level monsters, and use it for yourself. It's basically, that's it. If you're going second in a mirror match, that's probably the main situation in which you really want to use this card, and even then it's very limited in use because it heavily depends on what your opponent's playing, and if you're confident enough that you're 1 of, you're 2 of, is probably, you have to play this as a 3 of even then, but it will be considered semi-bricky later down the line. But hey, a mill 2 for your starting play, not bad. Here we are, the biggest legends, the biggest spell card in this set, which just as hyped as Purity. Legend Strike. Pay 300, summon a level 4 monster with 600 100 or less attack from grave, or one legend normal monster from grave to your field face up. You summon a legend magician or a legend normal monster, destroy a spell trap card in your opponent's field. This card is a menace. It's a monster reborn for any level 4 monster besides Abyss Soldier, which is perfectly fine, which I'm perfectly, no one cares. No one plays Abyss Soldier anymore. This card has been huge. It's been in every single deck list. It's been played in every single deck, even with and without Legend Magician. But if you're playing it with Legend Magician, you can bring back Legend Magician, pop back row, use Legend Magician's effect, send a card to the grave, and that could be a possible extender, that could be a possible resource. It's an incredible card. You can just reborn whatever you want that's level 4 or a Legend Normal Monster. Legend Normal Monster doesn't come up too often, but this is 100% getting played in, I don't want to say every deck, but it's going to be a very much played card. I can't personally say what you can do to prevent play around this. If your opponent is playing something like Legend Magician, you may want to try to focus getting that out of their graveyard unless they have a bigger target. Because if they have Legend Magician in the grave, that's going to give them a lot of value unless you're playing a non-back row deck. But Legend Strike has the... I would give the first place ribbon to for the best spell card of the deck. Though I don't have a good monster to give the ribbon to, but you know. Up next, we have one of the more gimmicky cards, Dark Hole Device. This card's name becomes Dark Hole in the Grave. Send 3 Dark Attribute, Galaxy monster from your hand to grave, or face a fusion on your field, you can activate it. Destroy all monsters on the field, then you add 1 Galaxy type monster from grave to the hand. So let me clarify, because this does get a lot of confusion. It is a optional requirement, which I don't believe we ever seen before in Rush. I don't remember anything that's come close to this. So it gives you an option. You can either discard 3 Dark Galaxies, or you can activate it for free if you control a Dark Galaxy fusion monster. So effectively, you have 4 copies of Dark Hole if you control a fusion, but the main thing to think about here is you no longer have to play Dark Hole in a Dark Galaxy strategy, meaning you could play 1 or 3 copies of this, meaning gives your legend slot open. You can play Heavy Storm, you can play Monster Reborn. You're not playing Monster Reborn. You play Graceful Charity, you're probably going to be playing Heavy Storm as a way to get rid of the back row, because that's Galaxy's main issue. They can't really deal with back row very well. This isn't going to be like immediately effective, but you know, there's going to be many Dark Galaxy players anyways in most formats. And this card is definitely going to be something you have to keep an eye out for, and you have to figure out ways to play around it, i.e. Abyssal Olivia Knights with his self-protection. Here we go, another going second card, or just a good card in general. Catros Choice. Your opponent has a monster on the field, send 3 cards from the top of your deck to the grave, and you have 3 or less monsters in the grave, add 1 card from your grave to the hand. So effectively, if you have 3 or less monsters in the grave, add any card. You can add a legend card, add a non-legend card, you can add any spell, any trap. And that is insane. Adding back any card from the grave means you can add something back like Legend Strike, which is stupidly hilarious. That's probably not the best option, but this is a very good early game starter, very good early game searcher. If you are playing a strategy like, once again, Abyssal Olivia, you can easily wipe away your graveyard, have 0 monsters in it, activate this again, get back any spell and trap card you need, or if you happen to dump a monster, grab it back. This is a really good card. Weirdly enough, I have not seen much play from this, but once we get into the competitive scene in the OCG, I will definitely try to keep an eye out for this, because they should not be ignoring this card. This card's amazing. I'm so sad it's not like cat support, but you know, it's fine. Then we have a very weird one I put on this list. I don't really feel that confident about saying this is going to be immediately viable, or if at all viable, but it's still something that needs to be taken into consideration. Aura Buster. Equip this to 1 face of warrior on the field. The equipped monster can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, and if you have an equipped spell on your grave, the equipped monster inflicts piercing damage. So we did just get out of a format where Guildford Rising was a considerable threat because, you know, multiple attacks, piercing, all that. But it did have a main flaw, which it didn't really have much protection against card effects. Aura Buster gives Guildford Legend, Guildford the Rising both the main protection they need, and you can easily recover these cards with A majority will go for the Rising, or sorry, go for Legend, adding back equip spells. And it's just a really good card, giving any warrior the effect to be unable to be destroyed by your opponent's card effect is insane. Though it doesn't give a stat boost, which is one of the main, or one of the more uh, praised praised for parts of equip spells, which is giving them attack gain, but the protection and the piercing itself really, really sets this card off, and why I had to mention it. Finally, for our spells is our one Joint Tech card. Joint Tech Dig Up. Send one Earth Attribute Machine from your hand to grave. Excavate 3. Add one excavated card from your top of your deck to your hand. Place the remaining cards on top of the deck in any order, or send them to the grave. If you can immediately tell from what I said, add one excavated card. It doesn't have to be an Earth Machine. It doesn't have to be a Joint Tech. So basically, excavate 3. Add any spell, trap, or monster you want from your hand. So it is very limiting to only Earth Machines, and this is definitely not going to be the thing that sets Earth Machine off, but Earth Machine getting an extremely powerful card means that their plays are a lot more consistent, even with the new Joint Tech cards. If they're a little bit sacky, this card does help carry that deck, getting their own pot of prosperity. It's a really great card, and I'm honestly surprised they gave this Joint Tech. After all this time of just abusing Yuhi and his starter deck and all of his recent support cards of just not getting Joint Tech cards, they start releasing things like this, and it's just phenomenal. Good for him, good for Yuhi. Finally, the trap cards. The one legend card of the set, Negate Attack. Opponent's monster declares an attack, negate the attack. This turn, your opponent can't declare an attack. It's not great. It's a non-destructive legend trap that basically stops all attacks that turn, but it does not end the battle phase like its original Master Role counterpart. Now you might be saying, BT, why does that matter? In a very hypothetical sense, if we get more relevant trap cards that activate after you activate a trap card, depending on what it is, that can give your opponent a opportunity to use that trap card and able to gain advantage, remove some cards from your field. But this is still very notable. Being the only legend card of the set, we always have to take a consideration of what they do, though I don't know if this will dethrone Magic Cylinder currently from its high position in the current metagame. Once we get into a format where there's more of multiple monsters declaring attacks and not just one big monster swinging in directly, maybe Negate Attack will probably find its way into the meta. This is more of a personal card, which I wanted to add because it is still very funny. Automatic Accident Prevention. When your opponent draws their normal draw and 2 more cards in your hand, draw 2, then summon up to 3 monsters from your hand to your field and face down defense position. Very gimmicky card. I love this card. If you're playing it, okay, so let me get this. First of all, if you're playing a regular deck, without maximums or without like Executie or Harpy, and you bring on like all level 4s plus this card, set this card, activate it, you summon all your high levels from hand. That is a very hypothetical sense. I really just wanted to talk about this card. Then finally, for reaching this off, is Executie card. That's not an Executie card. When your opponent normal summons or special summons an effective monster face up. Whoa. Special summon 1 monster from your grave with attack less than or equal to the monster summoned to your opponent's field from your graveyard to your field face up attack position. Then you make 2 face up monsters up to monsters your opponent controls lose 1800 attack on the end of this turn. So if you activate this at the end of your opponent's combo when they summon out 2 high level monsters, 2 or 3, you flip this card over, summon out whatever beater you want, then lower the attack of 2 monsters your opponent controls. That could potentially just end the battle phase because they can't swing over any of your cards. And it, of course, it's a free summon. Though it's I don't know. It's very dependent on what you're playing and what your opponent's playing. So if they're playing a lot of low attack monsters and your deck's primarily high attack, you don't get too much value off this. So once again, it is I don't want to say sideboarding. It might be a one-off in the main deck. Well, you can technically side deck it, but it's something still once again noteworthy. It can potentially stop a battle phase from happening. It can prevent your opponent from doing anything. You can summon out. You can just I was going to say summon out barrier statue. You can't do that, I believe. You basically just summon out a free monster. That's basically it, yeah. I don't know why I keep saying basic. Alright, so that's... I just said basically again. So that is my... I believe that is my highlight list. Ooh, I finally remembered what I was gonna say of the Phoenix pack, which I already forgot the name of. So once again, do take this list in consideration. That is my personal opinion for some of these cards, while most others are in a sense of how they would actually affect the metagame. Like something like Rising Light Angel Aether, that is something that's more gimmicky, but it does have potential in a certain way. But I will say that Secret Investigator and Pyro Phoenix, Vulcanized Phoenix, definitely have the highest amount of opportunities to affect the meta currently, including something like Legend Strike. But these are all very powerful cards, and do not ignore the rest of the set. This set introduced so many other powerful cards as well, including Wormdrake. But these are definitely the prime cards to focus on, in my opinion. But we'll have to see. Hopefully within 2 to 3 weeks after this set release, I will do a meta update and we'll see how much of this list is correct. Well, I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you all for viewing. And if you guys have any card that you're excited for this set and being released, or what you think will be meta, you can leave it down in the comments down below. That's basically all I got. Yes, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see y'all next time.